We all lose things from time to time, whether it be our car keys or phone, but imagine losing something a little bigger like a car or, let's say in this case, a plane. Today I want to talk to you guys about Flight 370, the plane that was from Malaysia and had American passengers on it and got lost somewhere in between Malaysia where it took off and China. So how is it possible that with the technology that we have now that we could actually lose a full plane? The passengers on there had probably smartphones, if not regular phones, that have GPS tracking systems, along with how modern day airlines have tons and tons of technology that should be able to locate the plane at anywhere, whether it be in the air, on land, or wherever. They should be able to be located. So the point is, we live in a very technological based world, so the fact that a plane can go missing is kind of scary because we all rely on technology to get us pretty much from point A to point B. So having such a large quantity of people and even such a large object as big of a plane to just go missing and completely off the radar, we still don't know where it is right now, is just something to really consider. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about Flight 370 and the different theories that go behind its missing and how the government handled the crisis wrongfully. So to start off, I want to provide some background on the actual event. So Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur, the Malaysian capital, at 12:41 a.m. and was scheduled to arrive on Saturday in Beijing at 6:30 a.m. the same day. Now, at around 1:30 a.m., air traffic controllers lost connection with the plane. They just lost contact with the plane somewhere between the Malaysian and Vietnam Sea, somewhere in between that sea. And later it came to find out that there were 2 passengers on board with IDs that were stolen, or passports that were stolen. And another weird fact is that there was no distress signal. So the 2 passengers on board, obviously they had stolen IDs, but does this mean it was a terrorist attack? That's one of the theories that has been popularized, especially in the media. Or how there was no distress signal from the actual pilots. So was it an emergency, or were they part of the terrorist attack? Or there's just a lot of speculation about what actually happened to the plane and what's happening still, because like I said prior, we still don't know where the plane is. So now that I've told you about what happened, what the initial actions were, I want to talk to you about the next steps that they sort of took. So being that pretty much this is a national inquiry as to where this plane is, just because it had citizens from obviously some from America and some from all other parts of the world. They want to know where this plane is. So there's been a dozen ships and planes from various countries that were dispatched to try and find the plane, whether it be in the air or in some mountain or even in the ocean. And they have been scouring the area between South China, near where the last plane was last detected. And there was debris that was spotted, but of course it turned out to be nothing. Also, there was an oil slick that was found the same area that it was supposed to be found, but it also yielded no result because it was found out that it actually was from a cargo ship instead. The Vietnamese searchers found no trace of the suspected floating objects that the Chinese satellite imagery had detected. So that, once again, that's another dead end for the speculation that they had about what this debris in the ocean might have been. However, with all the actual searching that they've been doing, there's no actual solid evidence for where it is. There's no concrete place to searching point for them to go off of. Although they're initially focused where they think would be where they lost contact with the plane by the Gulf of Thailand, they don't actually know for sure where it could be. So it's kind of hard to start searching for something where you don't have an actual location to jump off from. Now, as I was saying before, we all have smartphones and GPS trackers and all sorts of technology that pretty much we can be located at any time, whether we know it or not. So it's amazing to me that no one has been able to be contacted or detected. Along with that, the Malaysian government has been very tight-lipped, and some people have attributed that to that being their culture, and others have attributed it to being more of matter of moral disregard for the families, and just a lack of information, because they honestly probably know as much as the families do, and are still tasked with the responsibility of providing answers and some sort of like build up for like the families that are in despair. So now that I have talked to you about like the actions that were taking place, I want to talk to you about the continued struggle for more information. So as the weeks and days have gone on, there's just been more speculation, more theories about what actually happened to the plane. And there's a quote that I have that for the aircraft to go missing just like that, as far as we are concerned, we are equally as puzzled as well. And this quote's from Azardan Abdul Rahman, Director General of the Malaysian Civil Aviation Department. So this is a quote straight from a government official for the aviation department saying that they pretty much have no idea what happened. Also, CNN national security analyst Peter Bergen says the range of possible reasons behind the disappearance can be divided into 3 categories: mechanical failure, pilot actions, or terrorism. So although a case like this isn't unprecedented, it still is like pretty shocking for this to be happening, especially with all the technology that we have today. In June of 2009, there was a flight 447, Air Flight France, that also went missing, but they had substantial evidence 5 days later. Like, they had like the first pieces of debris, and then it took nearly 2 weeks to find like the bolt of the wreckage and also like the bodies that were like scattered in like the mountain range. So it almost seems like history is repeating itself 5 years later with Flight 370. Now that I've talked to you guys about like the response and a similar case, I want to talk to you about possible leads that the government and theories that people have about what happened. So far, the best lead that we have is from satellite images from the French defense that showed 122 objects floating in the southern Indian Ocean. This is not far from where there had been other like satellite sightings of like related things to Malaysian airline flights. The location recorded by the satellite was within the search areas scoured Wednesday by a dozen aircraft from 6 nations, and that was a quote from the Australian Maritime Safety Authority. But once again, although all these people are searching and speculating and taking satellite images, there still was like nothing actually like substantially found that like was true evidence as to where the plane might be. So there are a bunch of theories about where the flight is and what could have possibly happened to it. Whether it's a terrorist plot or like some sort of like pilot mistake, or whether it's just like some sort of like miscommunication with the actual airline. But either way, we can be sure that this is like day to day, this is just like starting to look worse because we still have a deficit of information and the families need to know what's going on. At this point, it's been almost 3 weeks since the flight's been missing, and there's been like little improvements besides more speculation and theory. So there's nothing really like substantial for the families and even for like regular people just in the news to go off of. So this brings back the question, how is it possible that we can lose a whole airplane full of passengers with this modern day technology? It really shouldn't be, it shouldn't be taking as long as it has. It really shouldn't be. And I feel like since we take such pride in being such like a technology advanced and progressive like society, that something like losing a large amount of people, like over 239 people were on board this plane, for them to be all like disappeared, and for like a large aircraft just like a plane to disappear, it says something about how we rely on technology and how it might not actually be like doing as much as we think it is. Because if it's not working in a crisis situation, then what is it actually there for then? If it's not working when we need it, then what are we using it for? Why is it necessary to have all these upgrades? The problem's really not just with Malaysia either. The whole world, or at least most of it, is looking for this plane, and nobody's been able to find it yet. Whether it's by boat or satellite, it's been nowhere to be found. We live in a very technological-based world, so the fact that a whole plane can go missing full of passengers is terrifying. The phones and GPS systems that we rely on for our everyday survival might not be as useful as we really think we need.